Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited about this next show that I'm going to talk about because it is Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club, currently playing at the August Wilson Theater in New York. I have extra things to say about the show because it has extra features, and it's going to involve spoilers. But before I get to that, if you don't want to be spoiled at all, my overall impression, very, very good. Yes, it's expensive, but you're getting more for your money, so that extra cost has to offset the extra costs to create this extra experience. So I wouldn't spend a fortune on this. um you know Lottery Rush, Today Ticks, there are discount options, or because this is a show done in the round, I suspect that there isn't technically a bad seat. So if you're at all curious about this one, if you're intrigued a little bit and you have enough money to sit in a discounted seat because they are available, um, try to go for it. I do highly recommend it. Okay. Now, that may be too short for some of you. So I'm going to explain some extra features that this show has that I didn't know all of them going in, but I follow other people. So I learned some of them. But now that I've experienced it, I feel even better. But I want to tell you even more information. That way, if you're on the fence because of a certain aspect or two, hopefully I can clear that up. So, what is unique about this production, the latest production, is it's been dubbed an immersive experience. Now, I know this is a buzzy word, this is a growing thing, but I've never been to a self proclaimed immersive show before, because to me theater in general is immersive. So I was like, immersive, what does that mean? And I've read some things, and then I read some things about this specifically because we were going to this show, but I was still nervous. I didn't know what that meant. So let me paint the picture for you. So let's say you decide to at least try this, and so you buy tickets ahead of time. I live far enough away where I kind of have to do that. I don't have the luxury of Rush, so that's just my personal hangup. But um, this participates with SeatGeek, at least if you go directly to the show's website. So I bought mine on SeatGeek for a couple of reasons. First of all, I always like to go through the actual show's official website to see who they're partnering with. And I've never actually bought from SeatGeek before. And they do have Affirm, which is the whole buy now, pay later, like Klarna, like Afterpay. I am a sucker for those. I know they're dangerous, but I have not had any money troubles with those personally. I know how to pay my stuff on time. Um, because it was so expensive, I was like, well, since I can buy the tickets now and pay them in installments, that enabled me to go. So I was able to pay it in chunks, which was easier for me to do. But they send you a confirmation email and they let you know, because when I bought tickets, I didn't know this and I didn't care. I was notified immediately that the performance that I selected was not going to have Gail Rankin perform on stage that day. And I'm assuming that they do that so that you can't get mad if the reason you bought tickets was for fill in the blank person, especially when it's a brand new show and it's the original cast, and maybe you want to see as many original cast members as possible. um and I do believe SeatGeek will let you cancel or switch, or I've never had to employ that. I don't know if you have experience with SeatGeek, feel free to comment. But I wasn't worried about that. I care more about Eddie Redmayne. I was more intrigued to see him live. So I thought, oh, Gail will be there. Well, that might be okay. I don't know if I have to see her. And then partway through, between the date that I bought them and the day that I went, I got another email. They're trying to do the whole upselling. Well, don't you want to get a table with your own little phone, and a cast member might call you and you can order food? It's like, yeah, I do. But I don't have a $900. Like, it's nice that they've converted the theater so it's in the round, and that the first few rows of audience are at little tables with little lamps and little phones, and they have waiters and they serve you like a full course meal. So it's dinner and a show, dinner theater. That's great. If you have the money to splurge because you're like, this is a once in a lifetime thing I want to do, you could do it. Carpe diem. But obviously don't take out a second mortgage to make it happen. Like, like I'm not gonna tell anyone how to use their finances. People are buying them, so somebody has the money for it. And that's all fine. I was not in such a position. I was like, look, I'm happy that I'm in the theater. I was like the second to last row, and I was fine with that. That's my comfort zone. That's where I can afford to sit, depending on the show. Um, so no, I did not do that. And then 48 hours prior to the show, I was given a much more detailed email saying this is what you can expect. So when you arrive at the August Wilson, which is now being rebranded as the Kit Kat Club, um, there are very like this look is everywhere, and they have very clear white bold lettering that says door 1, door 2. Probably your ticket is going to say go to door 2, more than likely, because that's like the super secret entrance door. Door 1 is for people with mobility issues. Or maybe you do something else to request that. I know there's a VIP package you could buy that also might be door 1. Door 1 is just you're going through the regular door. Once you get past through the facade, you don't know that until you're in the inside. Then you understand what's going on. You're like, oh, I see what they're doing. Now, when you're standing facing the theater, door 2 is all the way to the right. You can't miss it. It's clearly marked. There is no confusion. It just depends on, do you get there first so you can see everything? Or do you get there after a big chunk of people get there? Because then they're saying around going, mm-hmm. So when you go through door 2, it's a facade, and you're going through the little alley that's between the August Wilson and whatever's to, well, if you're the August Wilson facing your street, it's whatever's to the left of it. So you're walking through an alleyway. Now this is the last thing you're allowed to photograph, because at the end of that long hallway is the new symbol of the show, this eye in neon green light. Because as soon as you turn the corner, there are ushers sitting there waiting to put a sticker. That's what it looks like on your phone. Now you can take it right back off. I actually put mine on my phone, and I put my phone in my bag. But then partway through the pre-show, I realized I hadn't silenced my phone, so I pulled it out to silence it, and the sticker was kind of hanging off already. So it's not, because my phone, I have, so the sticker's like, but I was good. I did not take pictures. I will be showing pictures that are available from their Instagram page. So I did not take these. These are from the official show page. This is sanctioned. All right. So we got there early enough that we were waiting outside the theater, like you could do, unless you're one of those you show up 10 minutes before the show, so you don't have to fool with all that, especially on a hot day like this day was. And they kind of pre-screen you, and so they're going through, and depending on how you look, they might card you. I was not carded, but they give you a green, again, the eye. They stamp your hand to show that you're 21 or older, in case it's not obvious. Because right when after they put the thing on your phone and you actually go inside a door, so you go in the literal back door of the theater. There are people there with those tray things, like what you see at a ball game. They're all like peanuts, like those, it's strapped to them, but it's just rows and rows of shots. Every single person who's 21 or older that comes to a show gets a complimentary shot of schnapps. You don't have to drink it. But I was just like, well, this is part of the reason why the ticket's so expensive, is to cover all the alcohol that they're just giving away. So I took it, even though I'm not a drinker. I'm still a little congested from being sick, and I could just feel my nostrils clearing up. I was like, whoa, I can breathe through my nose now. It burned as it went down. Not a drinker, so I don't know if that means I'm a lightweight, but it's not like I got tipsy from that. So they recommend that you get there an hour before show starts, roughly. And the idea is you can walk all through the 3 levels before going into the house. Now they open the house partway through. It's not like you have to wait an hour. But I wanted to take our time going through all the levels. So I'm going to describe them as best I can, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. So we decided to go all the way down first because we were up our seats were in the mezzanine. I was like, well, we'll spend most of our time up there. All the way down is, I call it the gold bar. I thought that's what it was named. It's actually called the vault bar. It has a mini stage. It has a merch kiosk. There are bathrooms that are also themed, by the way. Uh, Mood lighting's got faces painted all over the stalls. It definitely feels like Berlin 1930s, the way I would picture it. And there's a bar, of course. The orchestra level has the red bar. It has a piano player in one corner. It has fringe and like red velvet kind of like little cubbies that people can sit in groups of like 2 to 6. Also has a bar. And then on the mezzanine level, there's another set of bathrooms and another merch cart and another bar. And it's all themed to pineapples. So, and there's cute little tables. And throughout all 3 levels, there are these in the playbill. They're labeled as prologue dancers. I guess they do dance, but they also kind of pantomime. It reminded me a lot of now it's been a while, but in the old days when you would walk through Epcot Center at Walt Disney World and you stop at all the world showcase locations like France and Japan and China, they would have like street performers. So they're in costumes so that you know that they're not just another tourist and they're doing street performing, they're pantomiming, and they're interacting with the crowd. There are performers in this pre-show for this production, and they are wonderful, hugely expressive. They don't talk or sing. It's strictly movement based, but they'll interact with you. They'll come up and take your drink, or they'll come up behind someone, kind of like like, oh, I'm gonna give you bunny ears or something. Like that's not what they do, but little harmless stuff like that. Like little prank, but all good natured stuff. Now, it's also kind of like if you go to one of those haunted houses that has actors in it, but they don't jump out and scare you. They just interact with you, but they don't touch you. And you do get the vibe that you shouldn't touch them either. And there are people everywhere. Like they look like security. They're all in black and they have those earpiece things. So I have a feeling that every performer has like a bodyguard that's only a few feet away, just to make sure that people don't get rowdy, because people are drinking and you just don't know. They're trying to evoke that bar scene, but the downside to evoking a bar scene is people might get a little, ooh, I don't know. Nothing bad occurred at my performance, but it's a really good time. It's dark, but not in an unsafe way because there's stairs everywhere, so they can't make it too dark. So you have 3 bars to choose from. They all have their own vibe. And let's say you're in the vault bar watching performers. They don't stay in one place too long. They're there, they do a little presentation, and then they skimper off and someone else will hop in. So you don't have to stay glued to one room if you don't want to. I tried to float between the 3 floors as much as possible just because I wanted to see how it changed over time. Now, obviously, the closer you get to showtime, the fuller the rooms get. So if it's important to have alone time, if you're really intrigued about one bar in particular, go to that bar first. The pineapple bar, I would say, is the smallest bar. The red bar has 2 entrances because it's in the middle. And the vault bar is big, but there's like a big floor showroom. And then past that is the bar area. So if you're trying to get a drink, a lot of people are just going to be standing in the middle watching performers on that like little mini stage. So if you don't like cutting through crowds, get your drinks early and then just try to enjoy the pre-show. I wouldn't say one room is more special than the others. If you just park it in one room for like a half hour and then go, okay, now I'm going to go to my seat, you can do that too, because we chose to go to our seats, even though I didn't think that was necessary because I'm like, it's assigned seats. It's not like our seats are going to be gone. But let's say you go into the main acting space. The pre-show dancers go in there as well. So there is something to look at, and some of them are playing instruments like an accordion and I don't know if they're valileas or something. Like it's all period accurate, very moody stuff. I think there's a violin player too. I don't know, assorted instruments. So there is something to look at on stage. And I'm actually glad we were there just moments before the show started, because it's almost like they try to encourage people to like now come into the main space, because they all gather on the stage and do one big thing, and it leads right into the show. There is no, oh, welcome to the Kit Kat Club, please silence your phones. Well, they don't do that whole pre-show talk that most shows do. They just go right into the show. So be mindful of the time. So if you're there for a 2 o'clock show, make sure you're in your seat like at 1:50 something. If you're at a 7 o'clock show, make sure you're in your seat at 6:50 something. I did take my daughter, who was 13, to this show. She asked to see this. Now, if you have children and you're thinking about this, you know your child. I know the material very well, so we did have a chat about it, and she has seen adult content before. I didn't think there was anything that was going to be so horrific in this that she couldn't handle. But I don't know what your speed is. There is obviously swastikas, symbols are used in the show because that is part of the show. So if you're triggered by Nazism, be aware of that. Yes, there's violence pantomime on this, but it's simulated. It's abstractly done. So it's not too brutal. There are sexual innuendo, especially during the Two Ladies song. Not exclusively there. It happens in other places too. But again, it's all simulated and it's abstract. Very adult themes, but I don't think it's aggressive. I don't think it really accosts you. To me, the most triggering moment in the whole show was the brick scene. If you know, you know. If you don't know what I mean by brick scene, there's just this moment where it's just a quiet moment between two characters, and the lights go off and a big noise happens to simulate that a brick has been thrown through a window. You know, it's like a hate crime because the show comments on that. Very brief, but my audience definitely reacted strongly to that, but I didn't think anyone was having palpitations or anything like that. So to me, that's the closest you get to, oh, this is upsetting. Again, depending on your speed. So if you are a very delicate little flower, this show might upset you, but I think it's tame compared to other things we do. So I hope that's helpful in helping you decide whether or not this experience overall is good for you. Okay? So hopefully I covered everything that has to do with everything that's not, that's unique to this, because it's an immersive experience. I loved all this stuff. I love the pre-show. I thought the pre-show performers were excellent. I think this was a good show to do with. It's all, do you pick the right show? And is it executed well? I'm not saying I want every show to be immersive. I don't know if that's appropriate. We don't want to go overboard because I don't think it's going to be everyone's speed. But I think if you have a really good idea for any show and you can execute it well, then yes, I am now a believer. Meet the newest spokesperson for immersive theater. I think there's a room. I think there's a place for it. So that's my take on all things that are unique to the immersive element of this show. Why don't we talk about the show itself now? Okay. I did see the Sam Mendes revival back in the 90s because I was in high school at the time. I didn't like it, but I think it's because I was 14 and I just didn't get it. Luckily, that was filmed for the UK, and you can find it in places. If you know, you know. So I did rewatch that just to be like, right, I know I've seen this, but I don't remember. I just remember not liking it. But to be fair, I think what I didn't like was when I saw it, it was when it was at Studio 54, and I just did not like my seat. It was so uncomfortable, and the angle was weird, and I think I was having a bad day. So I think that just laid itself on top of my feelings about the show, and I don't think that's the show's fault. Again, I was in high school. I didn't appreciate the good stuff, right? I know a lot of people are very attached to the Sam Mendes. Not only was it a revival, but that exact revival was revived. It's very unusual to revive a beloved revival. So it has this long life. Way more eyeballs have been on it than any other version of the show, which can be a problem as a person who loves Phantom, a 30-something-year-old property, almost 40-year-old property. I know there have been non-replicas of that, but because we have one version of the show, it's going to be very hard to remove yourself from that. I'm going to be guilty of this. If they ever revive Phantom, I'm going to struggle with the changes. but I'm open to them. I have seen moments of non-replica phantoms, and I'm like, ooh, that looks interesting. So you got to have an open mind, people. If you are super duper attached to the Sam Mendes production, I think this production is just going to look at you and be like, okay, boomer, we're not trying to take away from that production. But the whole point of theater is if you have an idea about a different angle, a different take, a different interpretation, and you want to explore that, and you can raise the capital to do so, then that is your right. What is fun about theater is how many different versions can you make? I mean, everyone has done Romeo and Juliet, everyone has done Hamlet, but they're not the same. People like to put their own little overlays on top because the text is malleable. Cabaret likes to boast that it's one of the first concept musicals. Well, part of that implies that this is a very malleable show, that it can be interpreted many, many different ways. And so it's going to invite creative juices to flow to go, ooh, I have this idea. And people had an idea. I don't think this is taking away from Sam Mendes' version. You can love both. Both of these are allowed to exist. I'm not telling you which one to love more. I'm not telling you to let go of that one and embrace this one. I'm just saying there's a place for it. Okay. I absolutely loved this production. I was expecting not to. I thought, oh, I just don't get Cabaret. It's just not my cup of tea. I guess I don't get it. That's not true. I think I just had to be a little bit more mature and experience the world a little bit more. And, I've taken some text analysis classes between when I saw it last time and this time. So I would love to see a live production of Sam Mendes just to give it another chance to enter my heart, because it probably would. A lot of points of contention center around the Emcee, which I find very funny. People are super duper attached to Alan Cummings' version, who was the lead in the Sam Mendes. Both times it was revived. Actually, it was in London, then transferred to Broadway. Then when it came back to Broadway, he opened all of them. So he's been the Emcee for a long time. People are super duper stuck on him, even though Joel Grey was the original Emcee and got to do the movie version and won the Tony and the Oscar, which is a very hard feat to do. It's funny how the Joel Grey version hasn't stuck with as many people as Alan Cumming, but I think it's just because of quantity of time. The Emcee is debatably not even a person. You could say he's strictly allegory. You could say he's just this omnipotent figure. He's not really a man. What a great character. You would think every actor under the sun would be like, let me have it. Ooh, give it to me. Because you could do so much with it. Out of all the characters to be upset about in Cabaret, he's the most ambiguous. So it's weird that people are so mad about a different take. There are people who love Eddie Redmayne's take, like this girl here. There are people who really hate it, and you're not stupid if you hate it. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just saying, please don't hate it just because it's not Alan Cumming. I hope you hate it because you're like, well, it doesn't jive with me. They didn't say they were going to revive the Sam Mendes production again. They never said we're going to honor what Alan Cumming's done and replicate that. That is not their job, to keep one ideal alive and keep it going. They have said, this is not your grandfather's Cabaret. This is not your dad's Cabaret. They have been very clear that their version is different. All right. If you're not open to different, you're probably not going to like this show. And that's a shame, because you should, because the text is so strong on its own. This is not a light, fluffy, good feeling show. It makes you uncomfortable by design. It wants you to self-reflect. It wants you to ask questions. It's timeless because it doesn't seem to matter when the show gets done. People are always quick to say, oh, how timely. Oh, it speaks to our current times. Well, it's been speaking to our current times since the 60s. So I guess it's just something that's always timely. How wonderful. Most shows can't boast such accolades. So you're not going to feel good. It's not going to make you all warm and fuzzy when you come out. But hopefully it does break your brain and open your mind and make you think about things. Now, normally I don't like shows that do that because I go to theater to escape. But if you do it really well, I so don't mind. And I love this version. So let me get into some specifics. I had to study German Impressionists, and I studied Bertolt Brecht, who's a famous um, playwright. I love German Expressionism. I love their that whole time period. I had to study it, and this is really evoking that. They pull a lot of inspiration from very specific real world things, and it definitely has a European vibe about it. When you walk in, especially because it has the pre-show, you got like this. It's like one part Cirque du Soleil and one part Bertolt Brecht, and just some avant-garde, weird, nightmarish carnival thing going on. It's such a hodgepodge, but you can split all the factions and see how they put all this stuff in a blender and just mash it up. I'm all about style, but I don't think this is style over substance at all because the text is so very strong. So, what's unique about Cabaret, I think, not just this production, but all productions of Cabaret, is the songs. This is not a show where the songs are completely removed, where a play is happening where you have scenes, and then when you burst into a song, we're in the Kit Kat Club, and it's like otherworldly, like it's commenting on what's going on, but it's not in their world because there are songs that the characters who are in the world do sing. So you have really five characters of consequence. It depends on, do you consider the MC a person or not? But if you take him out of the equation for a second, you have Clifford Bradshaw, who's our protagonist. He's an American author who's come to Berlin because he's looking for inspiration to write his first novel. He meets Sally Bowles, a third-rate vaudevillian style star. And there's this older couple because he has to rent a room somewhere. He rents a room from Fraulein Schnauder, played by Bebe Neuwirth, who I love. And she gets a gentleman caller early on, Herr Schultz, played by Steven Skybell. These two are lovely. Oh my God. I always struggle with the movie. The movie's well done. It deserves its Academy Awards. But I hate that it removes these characters. To me, they're like so important to this show. And Bebe and Steven, for my performance especially, definitely had the audience eating out of their hands. Every little thing they did, the audience would be all like, oh, that's so sweet. They loved them. They are so endearing. How refreshing it is. I know this is not rare, but I think it's so nice to have a romance between an older couple. It doesn't always have to be the ingenue and the young hero. This is a romance done well because it's realistic and it doesn't end well. And I mean, it's just all kinds of loveliness. They totally deserve their nominations. All the not Clifford Bradshaw. He was played by, I'm gonna butcher his name. Atto Blankston Wood. Again, I'm gonna put his name here. He was not nominated. But I think it's because they're trying to push Eddie Redmayne. So Eddie Redmayne, Gail Rankin, Bebe Neuwirth, Steven Skybell, all nominated. And Gail actually was there the day. I guess they changed their mind between the date that I bought the ticket and the date that I was there because Gail did perform. She came out and I was like, isn't this Gail? Isn't that Gail Rankin? It was. So I got to see all four of them. I do think the nominations were deserved. It's sad that not one of them got it because now that I've seen them, like, oh, but I liked Bebe and Steven more, but totally deserved. The only Tony that this show won was set design. Now, there is no set. It's just a big circle. It rotates. Oh, Broadway, you and your turntables. And there are sections that open and close and level up and go down. But they don't even have tables and chairs. Nothing. So I don't know if the set design was just for the overall auditorium and the bars and the alley. Deserved. They're trying to make you feel like you are in the Kit Kat Club, and you definitely feel like you are in the Kit Kat Club. Well deserved. but it was not nominated for Best Director. Rebecca Frecknell, I want to make sure I said the name right, was not nominated. I do have a question about that. I'm like, why exactly? It's not that different from the Sam Mendes in terms of the actual staging, except that this is done in the round, and doing shows in the round is tricky. Is it because there is so much style? I hope the answer is because it was just so competitive this year that there just wasn't room. I hope. I hope that's the reason. I'm not saying the direction blew me away. I'm just surprised because Cabaret is not an easy show to do. And I don't think this show stumbled. I think it did it very well. Um, when the swastikas come out, because it's out of nowhere, it's a surprise if you don't know. The audience did go, oh, and I loved it. I just loved it. Um, Gail Rankin, oh my god, she was so good. I'm so used to Sally being played by like a girl that's kind of like that pixie, awkward, nobody gets her, like nah kind of girl. And she was just so broken and raw. She definitely felt like a broad, you know? She's not a little girl. She's lived. She's been put through the ringer. She's seen some shit, right? What a different take on Sally from the Sallys I've seen. I haven't seen all like the big ones, but very different take, but I think in a good way. And Eddie Redmayne, I know I talked about this before. I love what he's doing. I understand if it's not your cup of tea. I totally get that. If you're like, ugh. But if all you're basing that off of is the Tony Award presentation, I would argue that maybe it either doesn't translate to camera well, or they tried to film it like he was in the round, but he wasn't in the round at the Tonys. I don't think the Tony Awards should be the only thing you use to judge whether or not to see this thing, because it's just not enough information. It's not the right kind of information. And the presentation of it wasn't right. You know, I blame camera angles and whatnot. How to describe what this Emcee is? In his words, he says, quote, the Emcee is not the victim, he's the perpetrator, end quote. What's unique about Alan Cummings' performance, and this is a spoiler for the Sam Mendes production, but that's not currently playing anywhere, so I don't feel bad spoiling this for you. The big artistic choice, other than the queer coding, which is important, I don't want to take away queer coding, that's a good choice, is at the very, very end. The Emcee comes out to do the last little, oh, goodbye, everyone song, and he's wearing a trench coat, and he slowly takes it off, and you see him wearing concentration camp garb with all the symbols, the red, like, you're anti-Nazi, the yellow star to show that you're Jewish, and the pink triangle to show that you're homosexual. And they show that he's a victim of the complicity, which is what the show is commenting on. So he succumbs to the rise of Nazism. He is a victim in that version of the show. Now, in this version, again, this is a big spoiler if you care. The Emcee is like Pennywise and Gollum if they had a baby. So there's an image, because his performance is so physical. He can be so athletic looking and yet so delicate at the same time. It's amazing how he curls his fingers and he hunches his back, and it's a head to toe performance. He is definitely performing. It's like, whoa, he might be doing it a little too hard, but I love it. I just thought it was great. And he's dressed up like a clown. He has very drastic costume changes. Every time he comes out to do a new song, he's in totally different costumes. If you've never seen Cabaret before, like my husband, you probably don't realize it's the same person. But as the show morphs on, like we get into Act 2, especially, he starts to dress more conservative, and his hair goes blonde, and so he has that Aryan look. And so it's like he conforms to Nazism, because isn't that what the show is commenting on? It's saying, hey, look at how Germans turned a blind eye to the rising Nazi party. They let this happen. Interesting commentary to say that the Emcee could be a person who was acting one way pre-Nazi Germany, because that was certainly a look. You know, because Germany was very open to the gay scene and to be debaucherous. Their sexual freedom was just so progressive compared to other places in the world. A lot of people would run away to Germany because of how open they were. And the Emcee emulates that. But then he conforms. So it's like, right, you know, we could be sexual deviants. We could be immoral, but now we have standards and we want you to act a certain way, conform. And so he conforms. He looks like a Nazi at the end. He's not wearing Nazi symbols, but he's got that Aryan look. And Eddie Redmayne is a very tall, lithe, thin. The look works on him because of his features. It's chilling. It definitely haunts you. I know it's not haunting in the same way that Alan Cummings' ending is, but what an interesting idea of saying, what if he's not the victim? What if he becomes one of them? Because that's an argument, right? If you're not against something, then you have to be for them. Maybe that's what he's doing to survive. Because all of his looks are so different, it's like what this show is trying to say is he's a shapeshifter and he's going to change into what the world needs him to be so that he survives. I think it's bold. I love it. It's a lot. It's a lot of look, but I love it. I think it's great. To me, the most disappointing character is Cliff. I don't think it's the actor's fault. I think it's just he's been sidelined because they want to make the Emcee more important in this version. Even though the stage time hasn't changed at all. Because I did recently rewatch the Sam Mendes, and I'm like, no, Cliff is on stage about the same amount of time, but it hits different. I loved this production. I had a lovely time because it was extended. We were there so much longer than you're normally in the theater because they don't want to open the theaters for most shows until really a lot closer to showtime. So even though you're paying more, I think you're getting more. Plus, you get a free shot of alcohol if that's important to you. You get extra performances. It's a nice long show. It makes you think. It makes you reflect. I was so taken by the show that I felt the need to buy another ticket. I'm going again because I want to, now that I've seen it, I want to examine it closer and see, look for things on purpose. I'm not on the orchestra level. I couldn't even afford the very last row of that. But I was able to afford the second row of the mezzanine. So that's where I'll be sitting next time. But those are my thoughts on Cabaret. If you were nervous about the immersive side, if you're nervous about what age level to expose this to, I hope my descriptions are helpful. That's why I was anxious to make this specific video. Love it. Can't recommend it enough. Go see it. Please. It's expensive, but do what you can if you're interested, because I do want to reward creative choices, bold choices, thinking outside the box of how to make theater evolve so it doesn't become this archaic thing of the past that dies off. This is the kind of theater that we should be rewarding. You can wait for Eddie Redmayne to leave. I believe he's leaving September 14th. I hope they don't close it. I hope they do at least one extension to give whoever comes behind him a chance, because maybe that'll win people over, because maybe they'll have a totally different take. You know, to each their own. I just say go see it. So thank you for sticking with me. Those are my thoughts, and more shows to come a little bit later. That's all for now. Bye.